When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs. And as you know, on this show, week after week, we dive into the subjects that help you design your life rather than allowing your life just to happen for you. You know, taking the leap is really about doing things that are uncomfortable. If we stay in our comfort zone our entire lives, then we're really dying. We're just biding our time to die. We're really not growing. And I believe in growth. And today, my guest, Allison, Jacobson, and I, we believe that when you are in a growth mode, you have to conquer a lot of self-doubt. Self-doubt comes up every area in our life, no matter if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a W-2 employee, no matter what it is that you do, self-doubt comes up. You could be a stay-at-home mom and self-doubt will come up if you're raising your child correctly. Trust me, I've been there and I've done it. So we're going to dive into that today with Allison Jacobson. But before we get to Allison, I do want to thank a sponsor of today's show, Animated Holiday Lights. At our company, we're dedicated to transforming spaces into extraordinary wonderlands through our expertly crafted permanent light installations. With a team of skilled professionals and a passion for spreading joy and cheer, we strive to create captivating light displays that leaves a lasting impression, and you never need to climb a ladder again. I think that's my favorite part because I have them on my house. Our lights can dance to music, any song, any color, any holiday. From residential homes to commercial properties, our permanent lighting installations are designed to enhance the beauty and festive spirit of any location. We take pride in our attention to detail, using high-quality materials and advanced techniques to create stunning visual experiences that surpass expectations. Join us on this magical journey as we bring the holiday spirit to life through our dancing permanent light installations. Explore our portfolio and see the transformative power of our work at animatedlights.com. And let us create an enchanting holiday experience that will leave a lasting impression. A lot of people think, oh, well, I shouldn't get those installed until the holidays. Well, the holidays is the busiest time to try and get them installed, right? So I say get them installed and you can have them on for last Sunday, right? We were St. Patrick's Day, and then we've got Easter coming up and 4th of July and all of the beautiful holidays that we have. So highly recommend that company. They're just wonderful to work with. So Allison, Allison Jacobson, she helps women like you, or if you're a man listening to the show, she helps men, you know, like this show is about men and women today. So I need you to be here because self-doubt is there. But Allison works with women to be confident, sexy, and successful in the second chapter of their life. So through her one-on-one coaching and online courses, she's helped thousands of women reimagine who they want to be, overcome their fears, and create happy, peaceful, and abundant lives. She's the author of Daily Inspiration for Midlife Women, a guide to peace, joy, confidence, and abundance. She's also the host of the podcast Midlife Mavericks, Living Life Happy, Healthy, Sexy, and Strong, and is a motivational speaker for corporations and organizations on how to overcome midlife doubt to succeed in work and life. Allison, welcome to today's show.
Thanks for having me, Colleen.
You know, we were just talking about how you were having a conversation where you were a speaker Monday at an organization, and you were just blown away of the age range from 30 to 70 of, I think, is it possible, Allison, that we think we overcome self-doubt at some point in our lives? Because I know that I now recognize it, but I don't think at any point we completely overcome it. If you are someone that completely strives and gets out of your comfort zone to grow, you're always going to hit self-doubt along the way of something new again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you said, it comes in everywhere in our life and in different stages.
Mm,
And so, like you said, the 30-year-old new mom might be having self-doubt about parenting, but that other person who's in their 50s or 60s might be having doubt about ageism and what's happening now
mm,
and how their life is changing. So I don't think it ever ends, but I do think there's ways to manage it so that
mm.
it doesn't prevent you from going after your goals and your dreams.
Yeah. So that's what you find, the individuals that you work with. I think that self-doubt, it just becomes this barrier to what we had said when I was reading your bio, true peace and joy. Like when is someone truly happy? Like they really feel like, I'll tell you, when I ride a roller coaster, I am like at peace and I'm happy and I'm laughing and I'm a lot of joy. Like I just know what that feeling is, right? So then I use that and it's like, okay, when are these other times in my life when I feel that way? And am I doing the things that I love that light me up, that keep bringing more of that to my life? So when you're working with women, do you find that self-doubt is the number one factor for every single person that is getting in their way of what they want, the life they desire to design to live?
I think self-doubt is the basis of all of the obstacles we face. And it's really an external job, not an internal job. And what I mean by that is, you know, you think about little kids. None of us were born with self-doubt. It took a lot of confidence to start walking, to start doing everything, but we didn't even think about it. We just did it. And when you're little kids, you just think you can do anything, right? You run around the lawn with a Superman
Mhm.
cape on, or you strut yourself singing at the top of your lungs, even if you can't sing, or you're running outside in a
That was
bikini.
me.
Right. Like you never think about self-doubt. The self-doubt starts coming in from those family stories we hear. And I'm not blaming parents because we all try to be good, but it just happens. So if you had siblings, probably you were told you're the sporty one or you're the theatrical one. And so there were those labels that were put on of what we could do, what we couldn't do, what we were good at, what we were not so good at. And then that kept coming into it when we went to school and our teachers and our coaches. Maybe you wanted to be an artist and you got a D in art because you didn't do the assignment properly. So
Mhm.
all of those reinforcements kept coming at you. And then when you got into the working world, maybe you got passed over for promotions because they didn't think you had the financial background
Mhm.
or you didn't have the right degree. And then maybe it was reinforced by your spouse or your partner. And so self-doubt isn't internal, it's external messages that keep chipping away and chipping away and chipping away at us. And I want to go back to something that you said about happiness, because with my clients, I'm sure you find this too. People very easily can tell you what they don't want in life, what's making them unhappy. The first thing I say to clients is, how do you define happiness? And it's amazing
Mm.
how many people are stumped and can't define happiness. And if you can't define happiness, if you don't have that goal, you can't achieve it.
Mhm.
So you first start having to figure out, what does happiness really mean to me? It's different for everybody.
Yeah. I love that because when you ask someone, what do you want? Usually they just kind of look at you like, I don't know if I've really thought about what I want. What does my life look like? So that's a great definition. What defines happiness for you? And it's different for every single person. And I think that's important. And so I'm challenging everyone listening today to think about how do I define happiness for me? What does that mean? And write it down. Write it down. And that's the first step to working towards achieving what that happiness looks like. So you had said that there's really four steps to this process to conquering self-doubt. And what does self-doubt look like? Maybe we should define it first. So Allison, what does self-doubt mean to you?
Self-doubt looks different to so many people, going
Hmm.
back to that idea of the stories we had. right? People will say, I'm not good at finances. I'm not good. One of my courses is Confidence Equals Cash because so many women grew up seeing their dads handle the money or handle the big financial
Mm,
decisions. And they just believed they weren't good at money. Well, being good at money, you can learn, you can read. It comes back to that confidence and that self-doubt that I can't manage money.
hmm
And that is in every aspect. So I'll give you the example for me. 2 years ago in 2022, I ran the New York City Marathon. I have never run in my life. I went from running 1 mile to 26 miles in under a year at 57 years old. And
Congratulations. That's huge.
thank you. And I had a ton of self-doubt, absolutely a ton of self-doubt. So when I talk about those four criteria, it really is the life lessons I learned in training for the marathon. And I had a lot before that I've gone through and I built my businesses, but running the marathon truly opened me up to a couple of things. And it's the 4 C's. And
Mm,
the first C is courage. Are you willing to step out of that comfort zone? Are
love
you
it.
ready to do it? We know so many people that are in miserable marriages or working for a boss they can't stand or staying in a job for 35 years because they're afraid of change.
hmm
And so it takes that leap of faith to say, I know there's something better on the other side. It's going to take huge risks. And the first way to get through that is to take one small step. So if you are miserable in your marriage and you're contemplating a divorce, that first step could be just calling a lawyer and getting information.
hmm
If you're miserable at your job, that first step could be taking a course in something else at night to learn it. So getting those small steps going will help you build up your courage to take that next step. And the
Yeah.
next step is really clarity. Colleen, when you were saying about clients coming to us, there's a lot of times people will come to me and say, I want to make $100,000. Well, why? What does that buy you?
Yeah.
Or I want to build my business. Why? What is that going to buy you? Because unless you completely know what you want, you're going to hit roadblocks along the way. Absolutely. And unless you have that great and passionate why, you're going to
hmm
stop. So when I was running the marathon, the reason I chose to run is in addition to everything I do, I'm the CEO of a nonprofit called First Candle, which addresses sudden infant death syndrome. My first son died of SIDS in 1997. And every year we have a team that runs the New York City Marathon. So I would be watching. And for any of your listeners who's been to the New York City Marathon or the Boston Marathon, it is incredible. The energy, the excitement,
Electric.
the adrenaline, it's
hmm
amazing. And so in 2021, I said, I'm going to run the New York City Marathon when I'm 60. And I went, that's a load of baloney. That's an excuse. I'm going to run it next year. And the following year was my son's 25th anniversary of dying. It was my best friend's 1 year of passing from cancer. And also, I wanted to know that at 57 years old, my body wasn't going to betray me, that
hmm
I was still going to be strong. And so that was my powerful why. I started training at the gym on a treadmill, and I made a picture board that I put on the treadmill of my son Connor, my friend Barb, and two women crossing the finish line of the marathon. And that's what kept me going. When it was cold out, when it was rainy, when I was sore, that was my great and powerful why.
hmm
So everybody has to figure out what is going to keep them going forward. The third is confidence. Now, I know men and women listen to this show, but for women especially, imposter syndrome, man,
Yeah.
that is such a big thing to get over. We all know, you can see a job criteria, and if a man sees 2 out of the 10 criteria, he's like, that's for me. A woman, unless she can check off all 10,
She
she
won't even
doesn't think it's for
apply.
her,
I
right?
know.
And so when I was,
Oh,
yeah, it's so true. And
yeah.
we all think we have to be the best at something. I'm
Mm-mm.
sure, like you and me, I follow Tony Robbins. He's one of the best motivational speakers out there. I'm
hmm
not Tony Robbins, but I have value that I bring to my clients that I say in a unique way, just like you do with your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't have to be the best. We have to show up with integrity and
Yeah.
authenticity of what our message is, because our message is going to
Yeah.
help somebody.
Your best is good enough.
Yeah,
That's a great saying. And if that's something that you need to have plastered across, on stickies everywhere or written on a mirror somewhere in your house, your best is good enough because that's your best. And I remember telling my children when they played sports, did you leave it all out there? Did you play your best? Even if they lost and they would say yes. I'm like, then that's all you could have done. You did your best. So we tend to get so disappointed because society also kind of has us in this, if you've got more followers, then you're more popular, right? It goes all the way back to elementary school, to junior high, if you were the teacher's pet, to high school, if you were the queen and king, right? If you were on the football team or if you were on the cheer team. I mean, we could go on forever about how we have been raised, all of us have been raised, and how that has affected us. Like you said, from children, we didn't have self-doubt. And then everything around us has created that. So for you to think that it's not a muscle that you need to constantly work, it's like running the marathon, right? You had to practice to be able to run that marathon and get out there and do your best. And it was like crossing the finish line that was it. Like, what was that moment like for you, Allison? What was the emotion? Because I know you know what it is still, because I do, and I haven't ran a marathon in years.
yeah.
You never forget it. What was the emotion for you that you felt inside of you? Because it's all about you. Your body is the one that did the marathon. You crossed the finish line. It's very much about you. What was
Yeah.
that feeling for you in that moment?
I'm getting chills just having you ask me because I'm right back there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was dark, so it was daylight savings time. And keep in mind, I wasn't a runner. So my goal was to finish before the street sweeper. That was my biggest goal.
Yep.
And it was dark, it was cold, but there was still everybody cheering. And they announce your name going across the finish line. And I fell down and started crying because I felt my friend Barb and my son with me. And I said, Connor, I did it. I did it for you. And it was just the most
Mm-hmm.
incredibly powerful feeling I had. But one of the things that talking about the self-confidence and the self-doubt, we're all very good at seeing that finish line and knowing what that's going to feel like. But the challenge is along the way, envisioning the stumbling blocks.
Yeah.
Because if we don't envision those stumbling blocks, the first time a client says no, or we miss payroll, or something happens, we're going to stop. And
Yeah.
so as I was training, oh yeah, I saw that finish line, but I also knew mile 16 was the Queensboro Bridge, and it was a huge incline. And so I
Mm-hmm.
had to envision how hard that was going to be and how painful and tired I was going to be so that I could finish it. So it's important to see that success, but you also have to see the stumbling blocks along the
Mm-hmm.
way to combat that self-doubt you're going to have when it
Sure.
happens.
I think the more we cross finish lines, metaphorically and physically, the better off that we feel and our confidence continues to soar. I challenged a client once, this was years ago, to run a 1 mile run. Anything that had a finish line, it could be a family fun run, whatever it looked like. I just wanted them to cross the finish line because they had started projects and then they would do a little bit and then they never really achieved the goal. Like they just never crossed the finish line. And so I said, you need to cross a finish line, like a physical finish line, whatever that looks like. And I know that if you go do a family fun run, you could walk the whole thing and you're going to cross a physical finish line. And I've told this story on here before. A week before the run, she signed up. And a week before the run, she was cleaning out her basement and broke her toe.
Oh,
I was like, did you do that on purpose? Because I'm
exactly.
telling you right now, this is exactly how you've sabotaged yourself for all of these projects that you've done. And now you've sabotaged yourself, and she never did the run.
Oh,
And so I guess I want to put the challenge out there to everybody listening today. Like, are you self-sabotaging
mm-hmm.
yourself so that you don't have that confidence you need, and you're blaming it on other things that essentially it's still your responsibility for us to rise. It was your responsibility to say, I want to challenge myself to do something different. I've done that before. I've ran a half marathon on 2 days' notice without training, just to be there for my brother-in-law and see if I could challenge myself.
Yeah,
I've spent 2.5 years getting a black belt, doing things I had never done before, challenging
exactly.
my body, challenging my mind. I do believe that when you challenge yourself and you're willing to take action, then you grow, and you that kind of confidence becomes a little bit more secure, and then you know how to recognize when you start self-sabotaging, or when those kind of snipers come in, I say, from the outside, right? So we've talked about
100%.
two of those.
Well, three.
Clarity.
So it was
Oh,
the
we've talked about
first was
three.
courage,
Yep.
clarity,
Courage.
confidence, and the last
Yeah.
one is consistency. Now,
Mm.
I really talk a lot about law of attraction and manifesting because it's worked in my life, it's worked in my clients' life, but I always say I'm one part spirituality, one part practicality. You could have law of attraction wanting to start your business, but if you are not going out there and networking, if you're not starting, it's not going to happen.
Hmm.
And so you've got to have that consistency working. Going back to the marathon, there were many days where it was baking hot or it was freezing cold and I didn't want to get out of bed, but I knew that I was never going to
Yeah.
accomplish it unless I had some consistency.
Hmm.
And that's what's really important in whatever goal you have, is to keep going at it one small step at a time. We talked a little bit about envisioning the challenges, but you also have to have those small successes along the way
Mm.
so that you do keep going. So when I was training, like I said, I had never run. When I could run 3 miles, I celebrated. When I was able to run 7 miles, I celebrated.
Hmm.
So whatever those small wins are, if you just, start your business and develop the business card,
Hmm.
celebrate the small wins so you keep getting moved to keep going further and further and further.
How interesting is it that we tend to forget how far we've come? And that's like I love to do that with people. And even if it's someone I just met and I can tell they're struggling and we start talking, I'm like, when have you ever not been able to complete a project like this? Was there a time ever in your past? And they're like, no. So what makes you think now you're not going to complete it? What is it? And they're like, well, I never thought about that, but it's like, well, think about your past and how far you've come and everything you've been able to accomplish. And I look back at just the times that I was a young mom and all that I had to go through and how I survived all that. And I think,
Yeah,
those were hard problems.
yeah.
This is super easy,
Well,
So I
yeah.
do think that reflecting and going back and looking at how far we've come and the accomplishments, it puts things in perspective for us. And it also gives us that kind of swoosh of confidence again for us it provides more clarity, right? Back to number two, it provides more clarity for us to really see. So those 4 C's are very helpful. You want to repeat those one more time, Allison?
Absolutely. So it starts with courage.
Mm,
It then goes to clarity, your great and powerful why. So you are crystal clear. The confidence to ditch the imposter syndrome, and the consistency. Just be resilient and keep moving forward.
yeah. I love that. It's beautiful. And I know many of you out there are like, how do I get in touch with Allison Jacobson? I have all of the information at your fingertips here ready for you to click on it. But what is the best way, would you say, that which social channel do you enjoy the most that you
I
hang
I
out?
really love hanging out on Instagram. So it's
Me too.
underscore Allison Jacobson. But of course, everything is on my website, which is allison-jacobson.com. And you can also find a link to my book there, Daily Inspirations for Midlife Women. It's just little inspirational messages you can turn to anywhere in the book, anytime. just to get that support you might not be getting in real life.
Yeah. The other thing I think that is so important, how do you feel about this, Allison? Constructing your social circle so that the people that you're surrounding yourself with, the mentors that you have, the people that you're spending the most time with are those people that are helping you focus on your growth and are there for you. Do you have those people in your life?
I absolutely do. In fact, I went to a wonderful women's circle last night that was so powerful. I didn't know any one of them. And now I feel like I walked away feeling just completely supported. And it's amazing, especially as business owners, how we will take advice from people who have no business giving it. I always say, when you're a mom, would you take parenting advice from a single 20-year-old? Of course not. But as
No.
entrepreneurs, we're more than happy to listen to great Uncle Ed, who never had a business in his life, say, well, this is really risky. I don't know. You want to make sure you're getting advice from people who've walked that path and can support you and not just yes you to death, but have some real life experience to offer.
I agree. I did the exact same thing last night and I met up with about 8 ladies and I had known some of them a little, like seen them or heard their names. But I was posting this morning on social media saying it was so nice to get we sat at like a wine bar. It was so nice to meet with a bunch of women who we all had different professions. We all had different hobbies. And I was intellectually stimulated by the women around me. And I think that's so important that we put ourselves in those positions and just sit and get to know people and connect and spread kindness and have conversations and be willing to listen and learn from other people at the table. And then I find myself, when I do know someone and I love what they do, I'm just shouting from the mountaintops about them on a regular basis. So who are those people that are missing out of your life that are really going to help you become more confident, more sexy, more successful in the second chapter of your life, which is what Allison does? I think we need to be very aware that is something we need to construct, just like we need to design our life. That marathon for you never would have happened if you weren't aware that you needed to do some things in your life to design it a specific way. And now you've done something that you can shout from the mountaintops about and be proud of and say, this is what I learned along the way. And these are the lessons I was taught just from signing up for a marathon. You spent under $500 to do something that has changed your entire life because of the preparation it took for you to do that for one day, right? Under 7 hours, I guess or under 8 hours, right? Is that what it is? Under 8 hours?
It was, I ran it in 6 hours and 49 minutes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. 6 hours and 49 minutes. That's a long way. For those of you that don't know, I just remember getting up early in the morning and going to a dark parking lot and then putting you in a bus and driving you to your start. And you're like, and I have to run back to my car. Right. You're driving forever far away. Exactly. And then you're like, I have to run back to my car. This is so not great, but we can do it. So what have you not challenged yourself with? I'm going to keep pushing that to the listeners today to say that it doesn't happen. You cannot conquer self-doubt unless you on purpose say, I want to conquer this in my life. I need change. I want to be happy. I want to be confident. I want peace and joy in my life. So ask yourself the question, what does that look like? Right, Allison? You said
absolutely.
It beautifully.
And have a sense of wonder. Be naive.
Beautiful.
Listen, if I had known what it would really take to run a marathon, I don't know if I would have done it. And so I was blissfully naive, and that allowed me, I'll never forget, and you'll appreciate this. When I first started training, people were like, what training method are you using? I was like, I don't know. I'm Forrest Gump. I'm just going to run till I stop. I didn't even know there were training methods. So have a sense of wonder when you go into a new adventure.
I love that. That's beautiful. We're going to leave you with that today. And just remind each one of you, you're the only one that's ever been. You're the only one that's ever going to be. I don't know what you're waiting for because this is your life. So we can't change anything we did yesterday, but we can certainly plan for what our future looks like tomorrow, right? So why not design it the way you want it? Why not sabotage or squash these, fear and doubt and all of these things that are getting in your way of truly living the best life you can possibly live? You construct all of that. Your reality is what you have created. Please, please, please reach out to Allison, grab her book, Daily Inspirations for Midlife Women. And I would even say for companies out there, Allison has a wonderful sheet for you to review of all of the options of topics that she can come into your companies and talk about. So you can find her at Allison-Jacobson.com and also on Instagram at _Allison Jacobson. And that's where you'll find her on Instagram. So Allison, thank you again so much for being part of today's show. This is one of my favorite subjects to talk about.
Colleen, thanks for having me.
Yeah. You're an amazing woman. I'm so glad we met. And thank you to all of our listeners out there for keeping us in the top 1% global in podcast. And Allison, thank you again for all of you. Don't forget, be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed our show today, as our guests shared their secrets on designing their life by taking the necessary leaps to expand their influence and attract the right people and clients into their lives. To start these easy steps for yourself, be sure to visit www.colleenbiggs.net/freebies to download the 7 ways to increase your exposure today.